All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the My Wrong Opinion podcast, where my opinion is wrong. I might be wrong, but I will fight like I'm right. So, today is going to be a little bit of a different day. You guys are going to get two podcasts this week. One is going to be about Amber Heard, and y'all are going to. Some of y'all are really not going to like that one. And then today's is going to be about the Roe v. Wade decision. Now, let me say this first and foremost. I'm a Christian who believes in Jesus and the inerrancy of Scripture. I am also a father who has a child. Um, I have parents who were unmarried when they had me. Um, and I think that's about as personal as I want to go today. But just understand that that's my framework of what I'm talking about. Let's also understand this. I am not. Let me just say this. I am not under the false impression of thinking that my opinion is the most important opinion in this discussion. Okay, I am well aware of the fact that what I'm going to say may very well come off as extremely dismissive, ignorant, completely uninformed, whatever. But there's a couple things I want to get to. There's a couple things I want to say. There's a couple of opinions I want to have that are probably wrong, but they are mine, and I own those. And let me also preface this: I said this on Facebook, and I said this on Instagram. And I might have said this on Twitter, I might not have. But let me just say this. I stand by every word that I will say today. And I don't feel bad about it. Okay? So before I go into my actual opinions, I want to look up a couple of things. So let's do that. I'm going to pull up Roe v. Wade and see what it says and see if we can get some information before I move forward. Because I have an opinion. But once I get some more information, let's see what it is. I know Roe v. Wade has to deal with abortion. Obviously, that's the biggest reason why this is even a topic right now. But what I want to do is actually know what the specifics of this decision was and what details may or may not be talked about in this discussion. So here's what we're going to do. I got Roe v. Wade pulled up here. This is from the Cornell Law School Legal Information Institute. I'm gonna be honest with you. This is a lot of legalese. I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not gonna claim to know half of the crap that this says. But my gosh, this is a lot. We are not gonna go through all of this. I'm just gonna let you know right now. We're not going to go through all of this, but we are going to go through some of it. And then I'm also going to pull up a Pew Research Center article on this exact thing, actually. And this was a study that was done in May 6th of 2022, so it's actually pretty timely. You guys are going to be surprised about some of the numbers that you see, and you're probably going to be surprised by some of the stuff that I'm going to say. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and get into this. The tone is not going to be as entertaining probably or as dramatic as the previous one was. Amber Heard's will be the Amber Heard pod will definitely be a very boisterous one. But this one in particular, I don't know. I don't think because of what happened and what had occurred will be helpful to kind of treat this in a facetious way. For those of you who don't know, which I don't know how you can't, but Roe v. Wade was overturned. The Supreme Court decided to overturn the decision. I don't know the reasoning for that yet. We might look into that. We might not. It just depends. So without any further ado, let's just go ahead and get into this. So, pull the volume recording. Oh, okay. Let's go in there. All right. So, Roe v. Wade. Let's see what we got. Lord help me. All right. Is there like a... Okay, let's go ahead and get into this. Okay. So, Supreme Court decision, Henry Wade versus Jane Roe. It was in 1971, re-argued in 1972, decided in 1973. Rehearing was denied in 1973. I don't even know what that means. Okay, so a pregnant single woman, Roe, brought a class action challenging the constitutionality of the Texas criminal abortion laws, which proscribe procuring or attempting an abortion except on medical advice for the purpose of saving the mother's life. A licensed physician, Halford, who had 2 state abortion prosecutions pending against him, was permitted to intervene. A childless married couple, the Does, the wife not being pregnant, separately attacked the laws, being alleged... What? Being alleged injury on the future possibilities of contraceptive failure, pregnancy, unpreparedness for parenthood, and impairment of the wife's health. A 3-judge district court which consolidated the actions held that Roe and Halford and members of their classes had standing to sue and presented justifiable controversies. Ruling that declaratory, though not oh, here we go with the language. Relief was warranted. The courts declared the abortion statuses void as vague and overbroadly infringing those plaintiffs' 9th and 14th Amendment rights. The court ruled the Doe's complaint non-justiciable. Appellants directly appealed to this court on the injunctive rulings, and appellee cross-appeal from the district courts. Okay. Oh, Lord help me today. And if you guys think that this is already starting to get confusing, look, there is over 50 something, 100 something statements that appear that just go into this. I might not even be looking in the right way. Let's see if we can get a synopsis or something. My gosh. Okay. This might be a little bit better. Oh, this is a lot better. Let's go with this one. This is oyez.org. I used to look this up in college. All right, anyway. The appellant was Jane Roe. The appellee was Henry Wade. District, docket number, Burger Court. Same thing, 1971, 72, 73. In 1970, Jane Roe, a fictional name. Oh, I didn't even know that. It was a fictional name. Used in court documents to protect the plaintiff's identity. Filed a lawsuit against Henry Wade, the district attorney of Dallas County, Texas, where she rejected, challenging a Texas law making her abortion illegal. Okay. Challenging a Texas law making her abortion illegal, except by doctor's orders. In her lawsuit, Roe alleged that the state laws were unconstitutionally vague. Okay. And abridged her right of personal privacy protected by the 1st, 4th, 5th, 9th, and 14th Amendments. We might go into the 14th. We might go into those amendments, but anyway. Does the Constitution, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so it's a 7-2 decision made for Jane Roe. Inherent in the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment, it's a fundamental right to privacy that protects a pregnant woman's choice whether to have an abortion. However, this right is balanced against the government's interest in protecting women's health and protecting the potentiality of human life. Okay, so if I'm reading this correctly, this decision was made under the assumption that we can protect the woman's right to choose to get an abortion. However, this is balanced against the interest of protecting a woman's life versus protecting the potential life of the child. Okay, so the Texas law challenged in this case violated this right. So previously, you were allowed to get an abortion even then if your health was at risk. So it was, if I'm reading that correctly, that's what it sounds like. So even back in the 70s, excuse me, people weren't saying, oh, sorry, you're screwed. Yeah, so anyway. The court considered whether the case was moot, concluding that it was not. When the subject of litigation is capable of repetition yet evading review, a case need not be dismissed as moot. Pregnancy is a classic justification for a conclusion. Okay, I don't even know what that means. The Due Process Clause protects against the state action. The right to privacy and a woman's right to choose to have an abortion falls within the right to privacy. Oh. So they chose to put a woman's abortion choice within the right to privacy, which the state law was invading. Okay. A state law that broadly prohibits abortion without respect to the stage of pregnancy or other interests violates that right. Okay, so wait. A state law that broadly... Okay, so it was the fact that the law was vague was what the problem was. Prohibits abortion without respect to the stage of pregnancy That's going to be important. Okay, so you guys who are following along with me at this point, that stage of pregnancy thing is very important. Okay, because I'm going to bring that up later, and you're going to be amazed at what we're going to find when we go forward with that. Stage of pregnancy or other interests violates that right. Although the state has legitimate interest in protecting the health of pregnant women and the potentiality of human life, that's I'm assuming what they're calling the unborn child. The relative weight of these interests varies over the course of pregnancy, and the law must account for this variability. Okay. In the first trimester, the state may not regulate the abortion decision. Okay, so in the first trimester, let's look that up. First trimester. First trimester. Pregnancy and the baby. What's this from? Pregnancy-birthbaby.org.au. Through the first trimester, your baby goes from being a fertilized ovum to a fetus of about 6 centimeters in length at 12 weeks. By the end of the first trimester, your baby's heart is starting to beat, and the brain, stomach, and intestines are developing. And the little arms and legs are starting to grow. Okay, I might get emotional during this. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, I might. I hope I don't. I don't think I will, but yeah. Okay. So in the first trimester, within the first trimester, so at the end of the first trimester, your baby's heart will beat, and the brain, stomach, and the intestines are developing. Okay. So previous to that, it's really just a fetus of about 6 centimeters in length. So during this trimester, the state does not have the right to regulate the abortion decision. Only the pregnant woman and her attending physician can make that decision. In the second trimester, the state may impose regulations on abortion that are reasonably related to maternal health. What does that mean? The state may impose regulations on abortion that are reasonably related to maternal. Okay, so I guess that means that the state can step in so long as it doesn't infringe upon, it doesn't put the woman's health at risk. So let's look up the second trimester. Let's see what that says. Same thing here. Same website. Okay, the second trimester is when... Okay, so that's... Because the changes will have a single... Okay, so the second trimester represents the middle part from weeks 13 to 26 for many women. So that's when their nausea comes in. Okay. So the second trimester, your baby will grow from being around 7.5 centimeters away, weighing 30 grams to around 23 and 820 grams. I don't know that reference, but they grow pretty big. Your baby will be able to move freely within the amniotic sac, so they're starting to move by about week 19 or sooner. If this isn't your first, wow, really? If this isn't your first pregnancy, so does the development happen quicker the more times you get pregnant? Interesting. Oh wait, no, never mind. It's just saying that you'll feel the movement quicker, as a faint tickling or fluttering. During these 3 months, your baby's organs will continue to develop, and the liver, pancreas, and kidneys will start to function. This is also the time when babies might start to suck their thumb. By week 20, your baby can hear sounds, including the sound of your heartbeat, and they're learning to recognize your voice, although their ears are not fully formed. Wow. Okay. So at the second trimester, they're starting to get a little bit more involved, and then the third, once the fetus reaches the point of viability. Okay, guys, let's pay attention to this word, viability. That is a very important word, okay? So in the first section, we were talking about the development or the stage of the stage of pregnancy, right? In this section, we're talking about viability. We're going to go into this in a second with the next study, okay? A state may regulate abortions or prohibit them entirely so long as this law contains exceptions for cases when abortion is necessary to save the life or health of the mother. Okay, so this is where things really start getting heavy. In the third trimester, once it reaches viability, the state has the right to step in and say, no, you can't have that abortion. Okay, so let's keep in mind, and this is a .org. This isn't a biased website. It's coming from the College of Law, the Cornell Law School, the Legal Information Institute, which is where we were before, that had all that legalese in there that I didn't understand, and the Justia Network, which I have no idea what that is. So this is not a website that says we hate women.org or anything like that. This is from a source that is directly from as best as it can, it truncates a lot of what they were saying into an easily palatable stance. Basically, what it's saying is that even in Roe v. Wade, as long as I'm reading this right, even in Roe v. Wade, the state had a right to step in so long as it didn't infringe upon the health of the woman. And that was completely based off of the stages of development. That's a very important thing. We're going to get into that in a second, but just understand that that's where that comes from. All right. So Roe v. Wade, and this was even my misconception. Roe v. Wade gave me the understanding that a woman could get an abortion at any stage, at any time, no matter what. Roe v. Wade is not necessarily saying that. What it is saying is that a woman has a right to privacy, right? That the law has to be more specific to address the nuances of pregnancy. So even in this case, the state can, and it says may, it doesn't say it will, it says may impose regulations that are reasonable or prohibit them entirely. So the state still has a chance to step in. Now here's the thing, as far as I know, most of them don't. You got to talk to them to know the reason why they do that. But from what it looks like, Roe v. Wade doesn't just mean anybody can get an abortion at any time for any reason. That's not necessarily what it means. So I need y'all to understand that. And before Roe v. Wade, when we were reading this correctly, even then it said that if the woman's health was at risk, it could be okay to get an abortion. They were not going to step in and press charges or do any type of nonsense like that. Okay? Or consider it illegal. There was a clause in there for the fact that a woman whose life was at risk could get an abortion and it would be okay. That needs to be said, and that needs to be understood. Because what I feel, and this is what I talked about in my last podcast, and this is where I'm going to start going in. A lot of y'all keep talking about stuff and you don't know what you're saying. You legitimately don't know what you're talking about. All right, let's go. Making all these statements, all these assumptions based off of nothing. And that, look, you saw what I did, right? I looked it up. I didn't know what I was talking about. I have an opinion, but I wanted to make sure I had the facts straight before I talked about it, okay? Damon ain't just making stuff up here, all right? Damon has feelings. Damon has emotions. Damon knows what he thinks and how he feels about this topic. But I'm not just going to come up here and just say whatever in the hopes that you all will just take what I say. And I would hope that most people that are talking about this are doing what I'm doing now. Now, granted, I'm just some guy, right? Who am I? Really? You know what I mean? I'm just some dude who come out of nowhere, who has the camera in his face, and is talking a whole bunch of trash. Okay? Take it for what you will. But there are a lot of people that I'm confident have no idea that that's even what the law says and that are just going off on tangents about things that are not even true. Not even true. You can't find it in a book because it's not there. And this is my biggest issue with what those people were doing in the last video that we were talking about last week. I didn't realize how prophetic that movie was, that video was going to be, because apparently a lot of people are doing this now. And a lot of you idiots that keep thinking, oh wow, Christianity once again destroys another facet of American society. You don't know what you're talking about. You're basing that off of perception that you yourself have never scrutinized and are making statements that aren't validated. There are a lot of people that don't even believe in Jesus that are against abortion. So before you even start going down that unnecessarily religious tangent to try and go at a particular group of people who you may be surprised might actually agree with a lot of what you say, take a second, take a step back and actually figure out for yourself what it is that you believe before you start criticizing what other people believe. Because a lot of you niggas out here don't even know what you're talking about, but have the nerve to tell other people what they believe is wrong. Can I say that? I don't even care if I can or not. I'm going to. Because y'all are bugging. Anyway, all right, let's go into it. All right, so this is the Pew Research Center, okay? Pew Research Center, again, as far as what I know, non-biased source of information. They just do studies on stuff. They report the results. This is what we're doing. A majority of Americans say abortion should be legal in all or most cases, but many are open. Okay, do you see what I'm... Okay, this is a headline. We're not going to be headline readers. We're not going to be headline readers, okay? We're not going to be headline readers. I'm not going to be that guy. But this has to be said. Many are open to restrictions. What does that mean? A lot of you on social media that have the nerve to say things like, this goes against everything that we stand for, we're blah, 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 blah. You don't know that most of the people in your corner might actually disagree with what you're saying. I can't stand it, man. Many opponents of legal abortion say it should be legal in some circumstances. Even then, but let's not be headline readers. Let's get in there, okay? Okay, so we surveyed 10,000 U.S. adults from March 7th to 13th from 2022. So they did do a survey. They got a lot of people. They got a lot of people in there. They're asking people their opinions, okay? Lord help me. And keep in mind, okay, most of my vitriol isn't even towards the actual subject of abortion itself. It's against the people who think they know what they're talking about and they don't. Look, I know I don't have all the facts. I know that I'm just some guy, right? But at least I have the humility to admit that. A lot of y'all claim to be pseudo experts and you don't know a damn thing about what this thing actually is. Not a dang thing. Worth nothing. Not a penny. Not a blood nickel. And you know it. That's what I can't stand. If you're going to talk like you... At least talk like you don't know. How about that? I don't know. I'm going off a feeling, and just admit that. Don't try and present yourself like an expert or a person of authority, or you yourself don't even know what you're talking about. That's where my issues always come in. Very rarely will you see me get upset about the issue in itself. It's always about how people conduct themselves in these discussions that I always have a problem with. I can talk with somebody about the problem. We can talk about the issue. My issue isn't with the issue. My issue is with how people conduct themselves in the issue, how they talk about their problems, how they present their cases, how they don't argue the points, but they argue the person, and I'm so tired of that. Okay, so without turning this into a full hour video again, let's go ahead and just get into what it's talking about, okay? Oh my gosh. All right, so let's see. Okay, Americans on either side take an absolutist view on the legality of abortion, either supporting or opposing at all times regardless of this. Okay, relatively few Americans on either side of the debate take an absolutionist view. So what does that mean? There are very few people in this country that say abortion should be legal in all cases, no exceptions, and abortion should be illegal in all cases, no exceptions. So that goes both ways, okay? I know that there are some of you guys out there that stand for abortion that actually are that have legitimate reasons for doing so. And you're not these extremists that go on here and say that a woman's choice is a woman's choice no matter what. I'm gonna show one of my cards early. Your body is not your body anymore when there's a baby in it. Sorry. I can't look past that for you. Another part, I'm gonna get to this in a second, but I'm gonna say it now. If you don't want to have a child, don't do what it takes to make one. Another unpopular topic, I know. Lord help me. All right, so either supporting... Okay, so let's look at the graph. Majority of adults say that abortion should be legal in some cases, illegal in others. Do you hear that? Do you hear what it says? So here's what we got. Illegal in all cases, no exceptions, 19%. Legal in all cases, no exceptions, 8%. 27 say illegal in most cases. 36% say legal in most cases. 6% say legal in all cases, but there are some exceptions when abortion should be against the law. 2% say illegal in all cases, but there are some exceptions when abortion should be illegal. So the vast majority of Americans in this country actually think that there should be abortion should be legal. Okay? A minority think that there should. But even in that group, most cases implies that there are some cases in which they think it's okay for it to either be legal or not illegal, or not legal. A lot of people in this country actually have a somewhat of a middling stance on this issue, where they understand that although I ultimately want abortion to be legal, I understand that there are situations and circumstances that dictate a woman not being able to have that right. So before you start coming out here thinking, and even on the other side with people that think it should be illegal in most cases, you got to understand, a lot of people on that side, even they are understanding, okay, look, I understand that I don't want abortion, right? I think it's wrong. I think it's this, whatever, regardless of your views on it. I do agree that there are some situations in which there should be a like there are justifiable reasons for a woman to get an abortion. Okay, it's possible. Some of y'all are just so quick to judge. Makes you look like an idiot sometimes. Can I say that? And that's a Christian talking. I know people's perceptions of Christians is that we're so quick to judge other people, but I find it so ironic that those same folks that criticize Christians are the same folks that do the exact same thing that they hate. It's like my last video. You guys hate bigots. You guys hate a-holes. You guys hate people that don't listen to what you say, but you're the most bigoted, most hard-hearted, and most ignorant folks that ever enter this discourse, because a lot of y'all just ride off emotions and trends and don't actually take the time to know what you're saying. The mask is off, ladies and gentlemen, and it's staying off the whole video. The PC flew out when we started getting into this point. Again, you will know how I feel about abortion by the end of the video. But here's what I'm going to say moving forward. Again, like I said, my issue and my biggest grievance is not necessarily with the topic, but how people conduct themselves in this topic. People aren't talking. It's just like the whole trans woman in sports thing. People aren't talking. It's just a whole bunch of people just accusing people of doing things that they aren't doing. On both sides of the aisle. It's not just one side. Even though one side at this point is culturally louder than the other, it's equal across the field. So Damon isn't saying that one person is being ignorant and the other is not. No, I get it. There are idiots on both sides. Lord alive, help me today. Okay. All right, where we go? Nearly 1 in 5 U.S. adults say, 19% say that abortion should be legal in all cases. That's still a lot of people. With no exceptions. Fewer say abortion should be illegal in every case without exception. What does that mean? That even when we're talking about extremes, even in the extremes, there are fewer people that say abortion should be illegal no matter what than those who say it should be legal no matter what. What does that tell you? You may not like it, but there are a lot of people that on the side of disagreeing with abortion, even they aren't as extreme as those on the side for abortion. Again, you wouldn't know that unless you looked it up. And this is why we're doing this today. As in the past, what does that even mean? While public support for legal abortion has fluctuated in some 2 decades by polling, it has remained relatively stable over the past several years. Currently, 61% say abortion should be legal in all most cases, while 37% say it should be illegal. So wait. This line graph is saying that basically people's views on abortions haven't really changed that much. Except for this period of time, 2009. In 2009 is when it was the most equal. That is a very interesting year. I don't know what in that year made that go that way. But regardless, the vast majority of Americans do agree that abortion should be legal. And that's been consistent throughout the entirety of this past couple decades. That hasn't changed much. But in many ways, the public's attitudes are contingent. This is where we're going to get in. They're contingent upon such circumstances as when an abortion takes place during a woman's pregnancy. And also whether the pregnancy endangers a woman's life and whether a baby would have severe health problems. So a majority of abortion rights supporters say how long a woman has been pregnant should matter in determining the legality of the abortion. And here's what the question says. Okay, let's just look at the graph. We're going to be looking at graphs today, y'all. What time are we at? Probably what? 14, 15? Where are we at? 28 minutes? I'm going to try and cut it in. I'm trying. The majority of abortion rights supporters say how long a woman has been pregnant should matter. 56 say how long a woman has been pregnant should matter. 12 say should not matter. 31 say abortion should be legal in all cases, no exceptions, so they were not asked. Okay, so that part is irrelevant. The people that were extreme regardless. Before performing an abortion, should doctors be required to notify a parent or legal guardian if they're under 18? 43% no. That is wild. 56% said yes. How well does this statement describe your views? Human life begins at conception, so a fetus is a person with rights. Very few people actually believe that. Most people think that a fetus is just a collection of cells. That's going to be very important when we move forward in this discussion. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to skip through a lot of this I'm going to post the link in the video. If you guys want to look through it, you can. But you're going to look through a lot of this information and find out that there are a lot of conditions that are going to completely contradict what your perception of what people thought was. Mask is still off. It might come back on at some point, but it's off for now. At the same time, large shares of those who generally oppose abortion say it should be legal in certain situations or say their decision depends on the circumstances. Among those who say abortion should be against the law, nearly half of those say it should be legal if the pregnancy threatens the health or the life of the woman. That lines up with the Roe v. Wade decision. An additional 27% say it depends in this situation, while 27% say abortion should be illegal even in circumstances. Okay, so you guys see, granted, the numbers are somewhat... the numbers are bigger than what I would like them to be, honestly. But even in those who disagree with abortion, I would say a majority of them relatively think that it should be legal if it threatens the woman's health, or if it's the result of rape, and the decision about whether to have an abortion should belong solely to the pregnant woman. That is interesting. So a minority of them think that it should be relatively just to the woman, while a majority of them say that it should be both man and woman. But the numbers at the top are affirming that even amongst the people who don't agree with abortion, even they are saying there are circumstances in which it can work. Not work, but you get what I'm saying. More than a third of abortion opponents say it should be legal if the pregnancy results from rape, with 27% saying that it does. That's still a majority. 4 in 10 abortion opponents say that, this was just explaining this right here. Among Americans overall, most people say that the decision about whether to have an abortion should belong solely to the pregnant woman. So a lot of people think that the woman should be the only one to make the decision on the abortion. And more than half say the same about the statement, human life begins at conception, so a fetus is a person with rights. Okay. So I guess that what I'm reading that, if I'm reading that correctly, it says that more than half of the people say that the statement, human life begins at conception. So most Americans, at least in this cell group, say that life begins at conception. Okay. Both things. What was I going to look at? Where's it at? Okay. So most Americans do not have absolutist views about abortion, but nearly 3/4 of adults say that abortion should be legal if the woman's life or health is in danger by the pregnancy, while just 11 say that it should be illegal. That's, Lord help me. 69 still think that it should be legal in the result of rape, and 53 say that the abortion should be legal if the baby is likely to have severe disabilities or health problems. So even then there's a flux. Okay, so the survey shows that large numbers of Americans favor certain restrictions on access to abortions. 7 in 10 say doctors should be required to notify a parent if the minor is seeking an abortion, which is, I don't even understand how you would even try to go about not doing that with them. But anyway, most of those who say that abortion should be legal in some and illegal in others say that how long a woman has been pregnant should factor in determining whether the abortion is legal or illegal. Where's it we at? On the other side, combining 50 cents of U.S. adults who say how long a woman has been pregnant should matter. I'm skipping through a lot of stuff because there's certain points I want to get to. It's repeating a lot of this, but the point is that a lot of people... Okay, here's what I wanted to get to. Okay, so... Okay, opposition to legal abortion increases at later stages of pregnancy at 24 weeks. So if I remember correctly, where were the stages? The stages of a second trimester. What was the second trimester? So 24 weeks is around near the end of the second trimester, start of the third. So around the time of the third trimester, roughly twice as many adults say abortion should be illegal. Illegal! And let's just go back again to what we're talking about for the third trimester. What was the third trimester again? I can't even believe I'm looking this up. Some of y'all should... No, I can't believe I'm looking this up. I can't believe it. Because a lot of y'all don't know it. I don't even know what I'm talking about sometimes. This is an idiot trying to figure out how he feels about a serious topic. Listen, do you hear me talking about myself right here? Damon is an idiot when it comes to this topic. I know what I feel, but I also know that I don't know a lot. So as this is live and in color, we're doing this together, okay? Some of you guys may feel insecure about this because you don't know exactly what the facts are. I'm doing my best to show these facts to you so we both can make an informed decision. But regardless, how we feel is how we feel. What we know is what we know. Those don't always have to be the same thing, okay? Pregnancy is defined in 3 months blocks, blah, blah, blah. Pregnancy is divided in 3 blocks, first, second, and third. Week 27. Okay, so around near the end of the second, start of the third is anywhere between week 24 week 27. The baby at this stage, your baby's lungs are more mature by week 31. 36, your baby's about 47, weighs 2.6 kilograms. Your baby's head may start to engage or sit lower at your pelvis, getting ready for labor. They're moving. They're active. They will be in a breech position. Around 1 to 25 babies will be ready to go get out of there. By 40 weeks, your baby will be out. Basically, at that point, your baby is ready to be born. So in the third trimester, near the start of the third, near the end of the second, a lot of people think that abortion should be illegal. Or at least the majority of them think it do. Okay, so opposition to legal abortion increases at later stages of pregnancy at 24 weeks, roughly twice as... Okay, so we read that already. 6 weeks into a pregnancy is when cardiac activity starts. So it's the fetal heartbeat. So at this stage, and I'm guessing this is like around the first trimester. So around the first trimester, most people still think it should be legal, right? Legal in all cases, legal at 6 weeks, legal with some exceptions. Timing doesn't matter, 7%. 19% say it depends. So the majority of Americans still think that abortion should be legal at this stage. When we get to the 14 weeks, the numbers start to dwindle. The 19% still say the 19%. These people aren't changing their minds no matter what. But as you notice, as the stages increase and the time gets closer to actual birth, a lot of people are starting to move that pendulum in the other direction. So what this is telling me, and the theory that I said at the beginning of this pod, or when I brought it back up a couple weeks ago, is staying true to this day. There is a very loud minority that are really talking some mess. And a lot of people think that this is the majority of America. When we look at the facts, ladies and gentlemen, a lot of Americans are saying, at least in their own personal lives, the longer the woman waits to get the abortion, the less they want that abortion to be legal. We're seeing it right in front of our faces. Right in front of our faces. So here's where we get the views on penalties. So a doctor, 38% of... Okay, so this is where a doctor performs an abortion in a situation where it's illegal. So here's what people think for the consequences of people that get abortions illegally, okay? 38% of people think that doctors should not face the penalties if they perform an illegal abortion, while a majority of them think that they should. 25% of them think that they should get jail time. 18% community service, 17% not sure. The woman who had the abortion, 50% of people think they should not face penalties. That is an important number. 14% think they should face jail time. That is a crazy number to me. Do you hear me saying that? You hear Damon saying that, right? The people that think that women should go to jail for getting an abortion, that is crazy to me. 16% say community service, whatever. The 54% of people think that the person who helped pay for the abortion should not face penalties. Still half. Person who helped find and schedule the abortion, still more than half. So even when we're talking about the stance of abortion and what it means, there's still a majority of people that don't think that people should get consequences legally for performing these things. So here's the number I want to get to too. So again, a lot of y'all are going to be actually surprised by this as well. So I think it's no surprise here that you probably think a majority of Democrats are okay with abortion, majority of Republicans are not. The numbers here are relatively close to that, but the numbers are closer than what you think. So abortion should be legal in all cases, no exceptions, as you guys can see. The Republicans relatively opposed. Democrats. Okay, so I actually let me walk that back. A third of the left, Democratic leaning, think that abortion should be legal in all cases. Democrats. A third of Democrats think that should be legal no matter what. which includes late-term abortion, which includes at the stage when a child has the ability to recoil from pain, has the ability to breathe, can hear the mother's heartbeat. Granted, this is an emotional statement. You hear me? But it's still factual because these people agree that you should get an abortion at the stage in which a child has the ability to hear the mother's heartbeat, to recognize the mother's voice and the father's voice if he's there. Y'all are not gonna like me after this. A lot of y'all probably ain't gonna mess with me after this. And honestly, at this point, I don't care. Okay, there are some cases where abortion should be legal, others where it should be illegal. Do you see these numbers here? Look at that. Look at that. So there are some cases where abortion should be legal, others where it should be illegal. 79% of Republicans think that. 65% of the Democrats think that. Now, when we break down the numbers, we see that still, mostly Republicans still think that it should be illegal. With even a few are still saying that it should be, in all cases, no exceptions. But look at the numbers here. They're close. They were higher than what I thought when I first saw this. But there are way more Republicans that think abortion should be legal mostly. Almost a third. Whereas obviously the 47% think that it should be mostly illegal. Here's where the numbers start getting crazy. Abortion should be legal if a pregnancy threatens a woman's life. Right. Should be illegal. Only 16% of Republicans think that. I'm not a Republican, okay? Do you hear me saying this? I'm not a Republican and I'm also not a Democrat. Because I think most of y'all are crazy. But even then, I was shocked at that number. That even only 16%. A vast minority of folks actually think that abortion should be illegal when it threatens a woman's life. Most Americans and even most politicians agree. No, we got to take into account some factors here. Over half think that it should be legal in the result of rape. That number is still high. 23% still think it should be illegal. If the rationale is what I think it is, I can see why they say that, but still that number is fairly high. Should how long a woman has been pregnant matter? Still got a majority of people saying that it should matter. Whereas, here's where we get the numbers here, right? If I'm reading this right, how long a woman has been pregnant matters. 79% think that it does. 65% still think it does. There's still a majority of people that are still saying that depending on the stage of pregnancy, it matters. Most of this argument, ladies and gentlemen, is going to come down to really two things. When does the fetus no longer become a fetus? When, in your eyes, do you think that fetus is no longer a collection of cells and is actually a living person, a living human breathing person? And at what stage are you planning to get that abortion? Those are the two biggest factors that come into this discussion is what I'm seeing. A lot of people are okay with abortion if they don't personify the fetus as an actual living being. If they don't think it's a living being, they're more likely to agree that it should be aborted. However, when it's no longer that case, and the person in the womb is now living and breathing and they consider it to be a quote-unquote viable life, most people will not agree with an abortion. Most Americans will not agree with an abortion. What does that tell you? That a lot of people care about the life of that child. A lot of y'all may be thinking that the majority of Americans don't care about the life of the child in the womb. The numbers change because most people don't think that a fetus is a life. But when they start realizing, oh no, that's a life in there, then they start caring. But the point that I'm making is, no matter what stage you are at that point where you make that statement, the second that you say that life in there is a life, most Americans will say, don't abort that baby. That's the point I'm trying to get across. That's the misconception that a lot of y'all might think about this country. You'd be amazed how many people actually, Democrat or Republican, left or right, black, brown, white, Asian, whatever you want to say, you'd be amazed how many people actually will still say, no, that's a human life, don't kill that baby. Just saying. Women are more likely than men to have thought a lot about abortion, no surprise there. But there are only modest gender differences in views of legality. A lot of y'all out here thinking that men and women disagree on this topic. A lot of y'all are out here thinking that a lot of men are against women and a lot of women think that men are oppressive. But you're going to read here in a second how not only is that not true, there are some cases where men actually agree more than the women do. And a lot of y'all don't know that because a lot of y'all don't want to take the time to actually know what it is that you think or believe and want to rather just go on the trend, go on the topic, post on social media, say something on Twitter, say something on Instagram, and not know what you're talking about. These Twitter warriors are just the biggest group of dummies I've ever met in my life, man. More than half of U.S. adults, including 60% of women, 51% of men, say that women should have a greater say than men in setting abortion policy. That's half of men. Do you see that number? That's not a lot of women. That's greater. That's a majority of women. That is a majority. That's like what? 60%. That's what, 6/10? 6 out of 10? But there's still a good amount of women that still think there should be an equal choice. And only 3% of U.S. adults say that men should have more influence over abortion policy than women, with the remainder saying that women and men should have equal say. So for some of y'all out here are thinking, oh man shouldn't have the right to say something about my body. You are not, you would be amazed how many men actually agree with you. You'd be amazed at how many men actually agree with you and how fewer men that you may think actually think that a man should have the right to say anything about this. Y'all just be riding trends and y'all don't be thinking, and that's what pisses me off about a lot of you. Again, a lot of y'all niggas don't know what y'all talking about. So let's go down. Let's break it down again. Abortion should be legal in all cases, no exceptions. Do you see that number there? Do you see that number right there? 21%. Granted, that's the numbers are almost the same. 1 in 5, man or woman, for the most part, will still say that it should be legal in all cases, no exceptions. What is that telling you? A minority of people think that a woman should get an abortion no matter what. There are some cases where it should be legal, others where it should be illegal. Do you see those numbers right there? 68%, 74%. About a 6% differential. But look at the mostly legal number. Relatively the same. There's a higher variance for men, for women, for illegal, right? And the numbers are pretty much the same when it says illegal in all cases. Abortion should be illegal if the pregnancy threatens a woman's life. 71% of women, 74% of men think that if the woman's life is at risk, an abortion should be legal. Look at the illegal number. Women, for the most part, actually agree that it should be illegal more than men. And even more say that it depends. What does that tell you? That should tell you something. When we go down to the rape numbers, abortion should be legal if the pregnancy is a result of rape. Again, the numbers are the same. The numbers are actually higher for men in that situation. I'm not a red pill, okay? I'm not red pill. But man, come on. Sometimes y'all be making it hard for a brother out here. As much as I don't like that community, sometimes they're right. More men think that the abortion should be legal than women do. And I can kind of understand that. Now, granted, this is a 2% difference, right? It's not that big. But it's still more. And that matters. That means something. More women obviously think it should be illegal. 14 say it depends. Should how long a woman has been pregnant matter in determining whether it's legal or illegal to have an abortion? Yes, stage of pregnancy should factor. Yes. No, stage should not factor. No. They're still relatively the same. Abortion should be legal in some cases, illegal in others. It's still the same. And with more men thinking that it should be legal than women. But you let somebody tell you let somebody else tell it who don't know any different. They're saying, men just making decisions about women. Men don't want this. Men don't want that. Men controlling our lives. Men tearing us down. Men tearing us down. But you look at the numbers. A lot of us think that you should have the freedom to choose. And even more of us think that in certain circumstances, it should be legal. What does that sound like to you when you read those numbers? A lot, and I know some of y'all already tuned your ears out because you heard a man talking and don't care about what I gotta say. But for those of you who actually have the the humility to actually engage with what I'm presenting to you, do you realize that a lot of men actually agree with you? That a lot of men actually have sympathy for your situation? That actually want you to be able to make a decision? These numbers aren't they're not opposed. You let somebody else tell you, you would think that most of the men are in this section. But when you read the numbers, they're not. It's not there. So again, what I say, I go back to what I said a couple of pods ago. The loud minority. Who is out here saying that men don't think that women should have a choice? Who is out here saying that men are oppressing women? I don't get it. A lot of y'all are just flat out lying. Again, like you'd be amazed, and I said this before, and this is why I said it. You'd be amazed how much we actually agree on. But again, you wouldn't know that because you're stuck in your own heads. You don't want to think about you don't want to think about anything outside of what you already believe. I wanted y'all to see that because that's important. Okay. And here's where we get into the religious part of it. So white evangelicals are the most opposed to abortion, but majorities across Christian subgroups see gray areas. Okay, so here's where we're going to go into this a little bit. And I'm going to wrap this up here soon. How much time I got? All right, I'm going to wrap this up here soon because we're hitting an hour, and I was trying not to hit an hour. Okay. White evangelicals are more likely than other Christians to say religion is very important to say to abortion. Okay, so obviously that makes sense. Those of you who believe in religion, who believe in Jesus, who believe Christians, whatever, majority of you are going to say that your religious beliefs influence your opinion. Okay, that is to be expected. That there's no surprise there. Okay, so here's where we go. Among religious groups, white evangelical Protestants are the most opposed. Nearly 3/4 say that abortion should be against the law in all cases without exception. What does it say? 3/4? Or that it should be illegal in most cases. Well, there you go. Nearly 3/4 say that abortion should be against the law in all cases without it. That's not 3/4. That's 21%. That's only 21%. Why does it say that? That's weird. Or that it should be illegal in most cases, 53%. White evangelicals are also far more likely than U.S. adults who identify with their religion to say that life begins at conception, that the fetus is thus a person with rights. 86% of white evangelicals express the view. So, majority of white Christians think that life begins at conception and that the fetus has rights. They're also more than likely than other Christian groups to say their opinions on abortion are influenced by their religious beliefs. At the other end of the spectrum, religious nons, U.S. adults who describe themselves as atheists, agnostics, or nothing in particular, are the most supportive of legal abortion. Makes sense there, doesn't surprise me. Among religious nons, upwards of 8 in 10 say that abortion should be legal in all cases with no exceptions, or that it should be legal in most cases. What are those numbers saying? That doesn't make sense. 8 in 10 is not 34%. Self-described atheists are more absolutist in their opinions. We're gonna get to that. Okay, here's where we go. Generally opposed to legal abortion, religious nons, blah blah blah. Okay, so white evangelical Protestants. There are some cases where abortion should be legal, others where it should not. Mostly legal, 19%. Not surprised. 53% say mostly illegal. Not surprised. 21% say it should be illegal in all cases. That's where you probably get a lot of those extremist numbers. But that's still a minority. You guys got to hear me say that. There's still a minority of people that are saying that. The majority, and I'm not defending, look, white Christians got to do what they got to do. I'm a black Christian. I got to do what I got to do. But you'll see that there's at least a majority of people on this spectrum that are at least willing to consider that there are cases in which an abortion should be legal. That's what I need you to see. A lot of y'all think that the majority of Christians are this box right here. When in reality, that's not the case. There's a lot of gray area, and there's a very, very small. There's a small minority that say it should be legal. White Protestant non-evangelical. I don't know what that means. Non-evangelical. I'm assuming that means they're not as serious about their faith. Even then, there's still a 78% swing here. There's still a lot of people that are saying there are cases. Black Protestant. This one is an interesting number, and this will be a different pod for a different day. And it's not about abortion. It'll just be about something else. But the numbers among black Protestants is significantly skewed. It's the second least. We're the second least, closer to religiously unaffiliated. And even then, amongst the religiously unaffiliated, there's still some swing here. Granted, the number is higher among those who don't believe in anything. And the number for Catholics is significantly higher too. That lines up somewhat with what people think about Christians, so I can't, it is what it is. Where is it at? Where's it at? Substantially support for legal abortion if that. Okay, so here's where the numbers may surprise some of you. Even amongst this group of white evangelical Christians who are diametrically, if I'm using that word right, diametrically opposed to abortion, over half, almost half, still say that if a woman's life is threatened, the abortion should be legal. And even amongst that group, it still depends. The majority of Christians, whether they disagree with abortion or not, still agree that if a woman's life is at risk, an abortion should be legal. That is not something to look over. For some of you ignorant folk out here that think we're just out here trying to tell women what to do. 71% of black Protestants, 71% of black Protestants think that it should be legal. Catholics, high number, religious and affiliated, obviously large. We get it. 40% think it should be legal in the result of rape. 40% minority, still a large minority. It depends, 24%, 34% say it should be illegal. There it is. Black Protestants, 71%. The number's literally the same, with the slightly more people saying it should be illegal. Catholic, religious and affiliated, whatever. Should how long a woman has been pregnant matter in determining whether it's legal or illegal? Majority of people, the majority of Christians in general say yes, it does matter. I'm gonna post this. Later. I'm gonna post this later. In the video. But the point is, I want to take the time for y'all to just hear me out. Okay. I'm trying to make these videos shorter because I know people don't want to hear me talking for over an hour. But y'all, this topic is so charged. There's a lot to be discovered here, and that was just chapter. I think that was just chapter 0. I did a deep dive a long time ago. I did a lot of looking into this. You'll be amazed how those numbers are. They will surprise you. Again, just like with my first pod when I came back, that view on the Indian, the study on India, the view that a mostly patriarchal society that hates women actually has a lot of egalitarian view in it. The idea that we should be equal, making equal decisions. And then here we see again that a lot of men actually agree with women with regards to the discussions about abortion. And the biggest crux of this discussion, from what I'm seeing, boils down to, do we think that fetus is a human or not? And when you see that when the fetus is an actual human, you will see a lot of people still, when they make that decision, that switch hits in their head and they say you shouldn't abort. The my body, my choice thing doesn't really exist. I mean, it does, but you get what I'm saying. It exists to a degree. Because when you start when people start making the choice that life in there is a life, a human life, those numbers completely dwindle with regards to whether a woman should get an abortion or not. Even women say that, and some women still think that more. Even in that view, fewer women than men think that an abortion should be legal. What does that tell you? That tells you that there's still, golly, this is what I'm saying. You guys just gotta stop being idiots. I gotta stop being an idiot. A lot of us need to take the time to actually look into this stuff so we know what we're saying. And I'm gonna say this here, and I'm gonna repeat it. If you don't want a child, or are not willing to accept the risk of a child, you shouldn't be doing what it takes to make one. I stand by that statement firmly. Firmly. And why do I say that? Because there's a lot of irresponsible rhetoric that's coming out about, like, we should just do whatever we want and there shouldn't be consequences. And if there's a consequence, press delete. It's okay. It doesn't matter. No, it does. We can't keep living recklessly. Look, you have the freedom to do whatever you want, but that doesn't mean that you should be bereft of all consequence simply just because you have the choice. At some point, you got to learn to accept responsibility for your actions. And bringing a life into this world is not a small thing. That is a huge event in anybody's life. And for people to come out here and say flippantly that it doesn't matter are the same people that should not be having children. I'm going to say that. Some of y'all shouldn't be having kids. And some of y'all have kids, and I worry about that. Because some of y'all be saying some really stupid stuff out here, and you're pushing it onto a generation that doesn't know any better. If you don't want a child, don't do what it takes to have one. That's about as simple as I can make it. Oh, Damon, you're oppressing my view. You're oppressing my freedom. You're taking away my choice. You're telling me I can't do. No, you heard what I said. You can do whatever you want. But when the consequence comes, you got to man up. You got to woman up. Trying to say, oh, it doesn't apply to me is an extremely childish thought. And it's a childish thought that takes away a human life. What do I think? Do I think that life begins at conception? I will be honest. I still don't understand that. I still don't know. I'm still trying to figure that out myself. I feel like I lean more towards the heartbeat thing, where if the child's heartbeat starts, that's where I think the life starts. That's where I'm leaning at this point. And that's around the end of this first trimester. I'm gonna look it up. And I'm gonna show y'all if y'all want to think I'm lying. I'm gonna look it up right now. At what stage of pregnancy do abortions happen? Okay. So I got one from the Washington Post. And I got one from Planned Parenthood. And we'll see what the numbers say. If the Washington Post is right. The number of abortions performed have been on a downward trend for 3 decades. In 2019, there were over 600,000 abortions reported, compared with 1.4 million in 1990. Nearly 1 in 4 women will have the procedure done at the age of 45. Most abortions happen in the first trimester. Okay, so nearly 80% of the procedures were performed before the 10th week. Almost 93% were performed before the 13th week. Okay, so if I'm looking at these numbers right, and here, I'll share these with y'all since y'all don't think I'm lying. Here's what I see. Here's what I am seeing. Here's what I'm seeing. Okay, so majority of, and this is the Washington Post, so this is a more left-leaning article, so I don't know how accurate it's going to be, but it's saying that the share of abortions in 2019 by week of gestation, most of them were happening in the first trimester. 43 were happening within the first 6 weeks, like just before the heartbeat. You know what this number tells me? It lines up exactly with what I was talking about before. The later in stages we go, the less likely a woman is to get an abortion. The number of people that still get an abortion at the 3rd trimester is that I have no idea, like what stage of mind you're at that point. But God bless you. Surgical abortion, sometimes called procedural, ends a pregnancy through a procedure performed. Blah blah blah. So where's around the heartbeat? The heartbeat is around 12 weeks, if I remember. So it's around this number right here. So either way, the majority of abortions are happening at this stage. The 2nd trimester is where numbers start getting a little funky. 3, 2, 2, 2. The numbers are still low. Medical abortions and surgical. What's the difference? We don't have time to get into this. Percent of abortions performed with medication, types of medical and surgical abortions, induction. I don't even know what an induction is. Wait, what? Okay, so the proportions performed after the first round has decreased. Is relatively small. Okay, so 1.1 were performed. 13% decline from 2008. The abortion rate 27 was the lowest rate since 1973. 65% occur within the first 8 weeks, and 91 are performed within the first 13. Okay. That number, and again, if you guys are, I gotta review what was the first stage again. First trimester. What happens in the first trimester? Your baby goes from being blah 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 into the first, so at around near the end of the first trimester, your baby's heart's starting to beat. So around that time, okay. So near the end. Okay, so that number, I still don't even know how I feel about that number. So the majority of abortions are happening around the first trimester, which means that the majority of them are happening before even the heartbeat begins. And again, you're looking at a Christian wrestling with this, because I don't know if life begins at, for me, I'm still trying to figure out if life begins at conception or not. If it does, then my heart breaks at these numbers. If it doesn't, then I don't know how to feel. Okay? You guys are seeing it right in front of your face. You're seeing a Christian wrestling with whether or not a life begins at conception or at a heartbeat. I'm still feeling and leaning towards the heartbeat. I'm still leaning towards that. I'm still wrestling with it, is what I'm trying to say. So that's my first point. Second point is this. Controversial point, and a lot of y'all aren't going to like it. The only people that I think should have the right to vote on this, and I mean vote. Everybody can have an opinion on it. I don't care really whether you want to speak on it or not. Everybody has the right to have an opinion on it. I believe that firmly. But the people I think who should vote on it are two groups of people. Women who have had children and women who have had abortions, and that's it. I'm going to let that sit because a lot of y'all didn't expect that. The only two groups of people I think should even vote on this issue are women who have had children and women who have had abortions. Those are the only two that should be able to vote on this. Everybody else, take a step back and chill. Because a lot of y'all are talking like you know what it's like to have a child and have no idea. And that includes some of you women. Shocking, I know. Heart transplant some of y'all are going to need because of the heart attack you just took. But some of you women out here that keep talking for women who have had children and for women who have had abortions, even though you yourself have never been through that, should really shut the heck up. you should really shut your mouths because you don't know what you're talking about. And for the women who are pregnant, I believe that there should be a lot of support for women who are pregnant, especially if they're with it by themselves. We're not doing a good job in supporting our children in the early stages. And I think it's really frustrating and hypocritical for a lot of people to care about the life of a child prior to birth, but then after birth could give two F's about them. I worked in the children's services field. I've seen a lot of people make very poor choices with the kids that they have. And that even affirms my statement before about how a lot of y'all should not be having kids. Because some of y'all just ain't ready for it, and even fewer of y'all know what y'all are doing. Out of the group that shouldn't be having kids. Most of us, I think most people, if they actually think about it and are open to it, I think most people would actually be okay with having kids and raising them well, relatively well. But a lot of y'all are not a lot of y'all, but some of y'all are out here making really irresponsible choices. I'm looking, again, I've seen it. I've seen unfit mothers. Yes, I said that. I've seen unfit mothers. I've seen absent dads. I've seen dads trying to be in the mother's life, trying to be in the children's life, but the mom purposefully keeping the children away, playing all these unnecessary games, calling the cops on them for every other reason, bringing the courts in every time something happens, a whole bunch of litigation, that's the stories you don't hear about. A lot of things keeping the children away from their dads, the dads trying to be in their lives, but the system is not helping them out at all. And those women are collecting checks every month. And collecting tax returns every year. And are neglecting and abusing their kids. Think about that. So yeah, I stand by that. Women that had kids and women that have abortions are the only ones that should vote on this. Because they're the only ones who understand. They're the only ones who understand what this experience, first off, the experience of having a child is like, the experience of being pregnant is like, and more importantly, the experience of losing a child. And here's another point I'm going to say that I don't think a lot of y'all are going to like either. I think the women that have abortions, the majority of them, a lot of them really need support. There is a very poor view on women who have abortions. I might look into the numbers, but I'm fairly confident that a majority of the women that make these choices are women that are scared and worried. They're not just making it out of convenience. They're not just making it out of like oh crap, a baby. Oh, I don't want a baby. Just get rid of it. I really don't think a lot of women are hand waving this because of what I see from the numbers. The closer you get to the actual birth of the child, the less likely they are to abort them. That tells me something. That tells me that that's a woman who genuinely cares about the life of that child. It's from what I'm seeing. And I think that there's a serious lack of grace, and there's women out here that are seriously wrestling with the trauma, and it is trauma, the trauma of losing a child and making the choice to lose that child, feeling like you killed your baby because you were too afraid to make, like you yourself were too afraid to actually bring that child into the world because you didn't think you could raise him. You didn't think you had the money for it. You felt alone. You felt scared. You didn't know what you were doing, and you made a decision that some of these women might have regretted. I haven't done the research in it, and I'm not going to do it tonight because we don't have the time for it. But I'm confident that some of these women might have even regretted doing that. I have a son. I can't imagine him not being in my life. I can't imagine him being in my stomach, bringing him into this world. And I can't imagine making the choice to let that little life go because you don't know if you can raise him or take care of him. Those women need support. They need help. They need prayer. They need love. They need support. They need help, is what I'm saying. That's a traumatic experience. That's not something to be taken lightly. And a lot of us have unfortunately demonized a lot of these women because we've let a very loud minority of people that have no idea what the frick they're talking about say things like, my body, my choice, I don't care what you got to say. And then all of a sudden we paint these other women who have been severely traumatized, who are struggling with a very negatively stigmatized decision and are wrestling with the emotional repercussions of losing a child, and we give them no support because we think they think like those people think. That's why these loud minority people really need to we need to stop giving these people mics, and we need to stop giving them their attention because they're ruining it for a lot of people. They're ruining it because they're painting perceptions of a lot of people, and they're doing more harm than good. And these idiots don't realize it because they're too stupid and their heads are stuck so far up their own asses that they can't see any different. It's just ignorance. It's ignorance upon ignorance upon ignorance. And then unfortunately because we don't know any better, allow those stupid idiots to then color the way we view everybody else who's going through some really rough times, man. They need help. Just like anybody else who's struggling in life would. It's not an easy choice to make. As much as we like to think, as much as we think it's easy to demonize women who get abortions, we have no idea what went through their minds. Some of them might went to that clinic with tears in their eyes, and some of them might have cried walking out after. We don't know. I don't know. I haven't looked it up yet. And I hope that's right, because if I'm wrong, and a lot of y'all are just getting abortions out of convenience and could give a F about that baby, then I got some words for you. But if we're talking, but I don't believe that. I just don't. I think a majority of women that get abortions really do wrestle with that choice. They really do wrestle with it. So I think there are only two groups of people that should vote on the issue. But I also think that if you're married, the choice to have an abortion should be made between the both of y'all. Controversial topic, but I stand by that. If you're married. Outside of marriage, sorry, bro. I'm sorry. Well, I shouldn't sound so dismissive about that, because some of y'all don't believe in the sanctity of marriage. So some of y'all, but that doesn't mean that you still don't care about the life of your child. So I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't say that. That's not fair. That's not fair. But I still stand by, if you're married, it should be an equal say. I do think that if you're married, it should be an equal say, because you guys both have sacrificed your individuality to become one whole. So one whole has to make that choice. if you're even considering that. But for those of you who are unmarried, like, I still think a conversation should be had. But at the end of the day, I mean, if the woman still wants to get the abortion, I mean, I feel for the guys that go through that. I will say that. I feel for the guys that would go through that. Because that would genuinely suck, especially if you wanted to have the kid. Like, my heart would go out to you in that situation. But I just don't think that if... And my reasoning for that is based off the fact that, like, you guys still, as far as, and this is coming from a Christian mindset. So this is a person who thinks that marriage is the unification of two bodies. If you don't think that, then you can just throw everything I'm saying out the window. But if you're not married, at this point, you're two separate entities. And I don't think that an unmarried man has a lot of leverage over I shouldn't say leverage, but has a lot of influence over an unmarried woman, because you guys technically are still two individuals. Like, you're in a couple, you're in a relationship, you're together. And if you guys decide amongst yourselves to make that an equal decision, like, you guys agreed that that's going to be a conversation, fine. That's all well and dandy with you. I'm talking about personally for me. If I was unmarried, I would speak my mind, but if she chose to do it, I would hurt. I would feel bad about it, but I wouldn't feel slighted. Oh, I shouldn't say that. I probably still would feel slighted. But at the end of the day, I'd be like, you know what? Like, she's not married to me. We're not one. So she's free to, at that point, to kind of do whatever she wants. And I know it sounds bad because it makes it seem like if you're in a marriage, you're not free. But in essence, you're not. Like, men aren't free and women aren't free in that regard. We're both indentured to each other. That's what marriage is. And if you look at my first pod a couple weeks ago, you'll see that view isn't necessarily as oppressive as you might think. Our rhetoric towards this has got to change. We got to do a better job of communicating with each other on this topic, because there are a lot of people that are hurting right now that aren't getting the support that they need, because there's a lot of idiots that we give the mic and they say a lot of dumb stuff, and we let that, again, influence everything that we view. So that's my view on abortion. I'm still figuring out how I feel about it. I'm still figuring out when do I think that the life begins. But I will admit, I do think that there are some Christians out there that are genuinely struggling with this decision too. And I think you're allowed to struggle with that decision, because God allowed humans to be human. And when sin entered into the world, that created a lot of, how do I say this? It complicated a lot of things. So we're wrestling with the world that is broken, and we're trying to make the most of it. And this is for Christians. If you're not a Christian, you can tune out. But if you're a Christian out here and you're struggling with your stance on abortion, struggle with it. Struggle with it. But I will say this, that I'll say this, let me say this, and I will say this with confidence. If you believe, if you're a Christian, when you decide that child, whatever stage they're at, that's now when their life starts, I couldn't see how you could be okay with abortion past that point. I don't. Unless, and this is where things get complicated, unless in the situation of a woman's life being at risk. And even then, like I'm saying, that's not an easy decision. And then in the context of rape, again, that's not an easy decision. And we can't make these things so binary. We can't make these things so black and white. This is such a nuanced topic for a reason. There's a lot of gray area in this that people got to wrestle with, because it's not an easy choice to make, man. You're removing a life from the world. You're denying a life its chance to live. That's not easy to do. It's not a fun decision. Unless you're one of those 19%. Look, if you're one of those 19% that think an abortion should be legal at any stage for any reason, no matter what, you're crazy. You are nuts. And I don't even want to bother talking to you. At least at this stage. Maybe if when this is over and the dust settles, I might be open to a conversation just to understand what your mindset is. But if you think that it's okay to get an abortion at the third trimester, I don't know. I just don't know if I could even bother. I don't even think I could stomach how you could rationalize that in my mind. Anyway, yeah, guys. I think this decision overturned. I don't think it was as I don't think it was as oppressive as people are making it out to be. I also don't think it was as detrimental to human rights as people are making it out to become. I think when we really look at the numbers, a lot of like this Roe v. Wade decision being overturned. Again, this is an idiot talking, so I might not know the implications behind Roe v. Wade being reversed. But from what I'm looking at it looks like the majority of abortions were like the biggest issue is about the specificity of what an abortion should be illegal should be considered. And even then, the view on abortion stays the same regardless. Even if Roe v. Wade wasn't overturned, there's still a lot of people that are saying at the third trimester, at the second or third trimester, they're not okay with you getting an aborted. And even most of the women in those phases don't get abortions. Oh, well, what about the women that hate their children and get birth? Again, I repeat, if you didn't want to have a kid, don't run the risk of doing what it takes to make one, man. It's that simple. Either accept the fact that what you're doing may bring a child into this world and accept the consequences of that, or don't. I just don't you're an adult. You're an adult. You're not a child. If you're 16, 17, you messed around and got pregnant, okay, fine. We're talking about it. I get it. Right? Like, oh man, I didn't really want to have a kid. But you're too young and you made a really stupid choice. Fine, whatever. We can talk about that. But if you're an adult, give me a break, man. Give me a break. There are 28-year-olds, 29-year-olds talking like they're 16 about this. I just don't get it. You know there are consequences to your actions. Why are you acting like why are you acting like you should be bereft of those choices or consequences? That's just childish thinking. That's childish thinking. And I have no problem saying that. That's childish thinking. Oh my gosh, man. So yeah, I don't think Roe v. Wade, on its face and from what I'm seeing, I don't think Roe v. Wade is as detrimental as people are making it out to be. I don't think it's as opposed to women's rights and is restricting women's freedoms as people make it out to be. I also don't think it's an infringement on people's liberties. I really don't. From what I'm seeing, it doesn't look to be that way. And I guess I would have to see the document that would overturn it, what the overturning implications would mean. But what it looks like is that not a lot I don't really think a lot's going to change. Because people weren't really getting abortions like that in the first place anyway. I mean, unless it was in the first trimester. Okay, then in that situation, then I think it's a little different. In that situation, I do think it's a little different. Because then at that point, like, dang, when you find out you're pregnant, you're stuck. You know what I mean? Like, you can't really make any decision to the left or to the right. You are going to be stuck with that child. And I hate saying that term because that shouldn't be how we're thinking. And again, think about that. Stuck with a child. Guys, do you understand what if you're thinking like that, you shouldn't be having sex. Shocking, I know. Some of y'all shouldn't be having sex, man. If you're not ready to have a kid, you shouldn't be having sex, man. Because it literally and figuratively, no pun intended, comes with the job. Yeah, man. But I also think that this country doesn't do a very good job supporting any family post birth, apart from tax returns, but that's about it. I do think that there needs to be more supports, and I haven't thought it through all the way yet to know what those supports look like. But I do think there should be more supports, more resources available for women who are especially single and about to have a child. There needs to be more supports for them, because I think that a lot of these women that get these abortions are getting these abortions because they genuinely are scared that they won't be able to care for their child. So, and that's a legitimate fear. For those of you who are just thinking like, I don't know, it's just gonna inconvenience me and I don't want it. Too bad. You made them. You had the child. I have no sympathy for you in that situation. If you're just thinking, oh well, this gets in the way of a lot of stuff I was gonna do. I mean, too bad. You shouldn't have been. It sounds bad. I know. It sounds very oppressive. It sounds very woman hating. Whatever you want to call it. But yeah, it is what it is. It literally is what it is. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's it. I think that's it. I tried so hard to keep it at like 40 minutes, and I just couldn't. It was too much to go over. But yeah, take care of your mental health. Your mental health is important. Don't chase money. Uh, care about your character. Mm, substance should be over the superficial. Don't allow idiots to color your perception. Silence is golden. Even a fool is wise when he stops talking. Um, check on your strong friends. Depression is allowed, and dealing with it is healthy. Love yourself, but don't idolize yourself. And be honest about what you believe. I'm not always wrong. And sometimes we're all right. Yeah, so that's all I got. This is a surprise pod. Y'all take care of yourselves. Amber Heard is coming up next. All right, peace.